And I'm joined by Wayne of Scarlet Rebels. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, mate. How we doing? You okay?
Yeah, man. Good to see you again, pal. Been a little while.
Yeah, yeah, you too. I know it's been it's pretty much a year, flat out a year, isn't it?
Pretty much, man. It's crazy. I don't know
Yeah,
where time goes,
I
but
know, I know. It is. It's bonkers. A year, thinking heck, mad.
glad you're keeping well, mate. And as we speak now, you guys will all set to release your new album, Where the Colours Meet, this coming Friday, 16th of August. You've been
Yeah.
kind enough to send the album. It's another absolute banger from you boys.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and no, it's great. I mean, it sounds like a much more kind of expansive version of Scarlet Rebels. Was that something you were looking to push on the horizon, so to speak, on with this record?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that we wanted to do with it was like to go to some new producers and just get some new ideas, and new sort of fresh input type of thing.
Hmm.
So I think so obviously we ended up being lucky enough to get Colin Richardson and Chris Clancy to produce the album and mix the album. And then I think when we were sitting down and we were writing the songs for it and stuff, we were kind of like um the sort of aim to be to not leave anything off the table, if you know what I mean. So like even though we're like a four-piece rock band and we do, that kind of thing, but like in the studio, let's use, if a song is going to benefit from having, you know, bells on it, for example, then, that wasn't off limits. We just kind of like, we embraced it, as a thing, whereas before maybe we were like, oh, we're not going to be able to replicate it. But this time we just kind of went, if a song is we feel will benefit from it, then we'll put it on. And if it's not going to benefit from it, we leave it off. So, yeah, I don't think it wasn't like, we looked for it, but I think we were just kind of open to just giving the album and the songs, what felt right, if that makes sense.
I mean, obviously, like See Through Blue, top 10 album for you guys when that came out. Did you feel like
Yeah.
you had not a point to prove, but to not repeat yourself on the kind of how that one sounded sonically compared to this release?
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, we do need to prove ourselves. There's no getting away from that. We need to try and, follow it up with some sort of commercial success so that it isn't deemed, so See Through Blue wasn't deemed as a flash in the pan. So that's important. In terms of like the album itself, yeah, I think so. I think like, we just want to grow, do you know what I mean? And like I think like the first two Scarlet Rebels albums we did, so Show Your Colours and
Hmm.
See Through Blue, we did with a guy called Tim Hamill. He owns a recording studio down in where we're from in Llanelli. And he's amazing, he's absolutely brilliant, and I love him to bits. But I just think we kind of like, after talking about it, we were like, if we not so much go to a studio, but if we don't work with new people, then you don't get new ideas type of thing, and you
Yeah.
don't get like somebody else's fresh point of view. And I just think we needed it, mate, to be honest. I just felt like, you know, just to have somebody's a fresh input just was massively beneficial to us. Um, so yeah, I think, it was just really important. And obviously we want to prove a point and we want to keep, we want to keep improving and stuff. So um, yeah, it's just this is just a part of the journey, I think, and we're a few albums deep now, and we're just trying to be as good as we can be, I guess.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it's your third record now, and the people can naturally get that sort of third album kind of vibe about things. Again, did you feel that pressure doing the third record? Because, stylistically, you look at bands like Bon Jovi who released Slippery When Wet, or Aerosmith who released Toys in the Attic, or whatever else. This is all sort of a
Yeah,
collection
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I think like years ago, bands were given into their third or fourth album to sort of make their mark because, back in the day it was understood that, bands, can, like anything, you improve with time. But for me, I think like the pressure kind of comes when, with that success, and then obviously off the back of it, we signed like a longer term deal with Europe.
Yeah.
They, so they were more involved in this in this process from the start. You know, they were involved in, you know, wanted to hear demos and all that kind of stuff, and you know, they were involved in picking the producers that or helping secure the producers that we wanted to work with, etc. So there's just natural pressure in terms of, you know, number one, following up a top 10 album. I've written, you know, in Scarlet Rebels, you know, we wrote 2 albums, and then before that, I'd been in bands and written albums before. But you know, I was never following up any kind of success. So that, in the fact that See Through Blue did so well, and then you know, you've got to follow that up with a new album, and then you know, it starts writing songs and stuff. That kind of was on my mind a little bit to start with. I was like, okay, how do you follow up success? Because I'd never had to do it before, you know? So yeah, there was a little bit of pressure there, but only pressure from myself. I mean, it was only pressure that I was putting on myself. There was nobody, you know, in the label or anywhere else kind of doing it, I guess. Just something like what I expected of myself. But I think when I kind of just stripped it back and like just write songs and, you know, write as much as you can with as many people as you can. And then, you know, we'll hopefully have enough songs to record, you know, and then to pick, I don't know, 13, 14, you know, good songs that we can record and put on a record. So that's kind of what it was. But yeah, I think there's pressure, absolutely. And because I feel, you know, being that we're classed as like a new rock band and stuff, you can't, and there's so many good bands out in that space at the moment, you can't really put an album out which has got like maybe 2 or 3 singles and then the rest are just fillers. You have to put an album out of 12 songs which are potential singles. So there's a lot of you know, there's pressure on that as well. So yeah, but it's a good pressure, you know what I mean? It's something that that we want to have on our shoulders. It would be disappointing then, you know, if you were writing an album and people weren't, you know, expecting and wanted to hear what you've done. So yeah, so it's a good pressure, but it definitely is different to what it was a few years ago.
So of all the songs on the album, obviously you released Secret Drug first as the single. What made you want to release Secret Drug as the first taster for what was to come?
Yeah, I think it was just the perfect sort of opener, the perfect sort of prelude of what was to come. You know, it had like you know, that really nice guitar riff which will be circling around in people's heads for days, and then you've got the nice oh, you know, like the hooky chorus which will just be a earworm sort of thing. So yeah, it just kind of sums us up. I think, you know, it's got the you know, the rocking guitars and stuff, but then with basically quite a poppy chorus, which I think is, you know, something that we kind of like that we do. It's just to get choruses that stick in people's minds, and I just think it was the perfect sort of example and opener and of what the progress that we'd made and what the album was gonna, you know, was the flavor of the album that people were going to be potentially expecting. So yeah, so yeah, we just felt it was the right song. Yeah.
Nice one, man. I mean, like you say, you released, you know, Secret Drug and Grace and Streets of Fire, Divide and Conquer. It was beautiful, and just recently released Let Me In. Are there any
Yeah.
that you haven't released as singles that you're particularly looking forward to seeing people's reactions to? Any ones that you think are like?
Yeah, there's a few. So there's a duet that we've done with Elles Bailey, called Out of Time. That's a really, it's
It's a very
yeah, it's a good, it's a proper like sort of throwback rock ballad, really. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what people think of that. We've also, I also did a co-write with Ricky Warwick. So there's a song called My House, My Rules, which closes the album out. So that's totally different, I think, to anything we've done before. And you can tell that we've had a lot of, you know, that we've co-written it with somebody because it's got Ricky's fingerprints all over it. Yeah, so so there's that. And there's a song as well, which to start with we didn't think was going to make the album, but it did make the cut, and I'm glad that it did. It's a song called "Who Wants to Be in Love Anyway," And yeah, it was just one of these that we started to record, and then the longer we worked in the studio, it just started to come to life. And yeah, so that I'm that's I think that's got a good track as well. But I think that the whole album's,
It's
I
still
don't think,
pretty solid.
yeah, I don't think there's many like fillers on there. There's each song sits with its own merits. Declining is another one.
Decline, I
Um,
really liked. I really did.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there are some really good songs on there. It's just like sort of one of those things. It's just going to be interesting to see what people make of it when it's out. I'm really excited to get it out now. It's been a long time sort of teasing it, so it's about time we just, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing what people make of it.
I mean, you mentioned Elles Bailey and Ricky Warwick there. How did that come to be with working with those two?
Yeah, so it's really cool. So it's like when I was writing, Tim, the head of label at Uric, just said to me, are there anybody you'd be interested in writing with? And I just was like, I'd be open to writing with anybody, basically. Have you got any suggestions or anybody that
Hmm.
would potentially be interested? And the first name he gave me was Ricky's. And I was like, look, Ricky's part of the almighty Thin Lizzy, Black Star Riders.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to write for somebody like, like myself. He's going to be like, who? But uh, they just kind of said, just leave it with me. And then I was introduced to the management and given Ricky's contact details and just told, like, give him an email. He's expecting an email from you. So I dropped him an email, and then we arranged like a Zoom meeting. Because obviously he was living in LA at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just spent a few Tuesday nights on Zoom for like 4 or 5 weeks, just meeting. We met once a week for 4 or 5 weeks with ideas back and forth, and then just sending sort of ideas over text message and stuff like that. And then ended up, writing these songs, and then um, we did like band demos, sent the band demos to Ricky, and he listened to it, and he was like giving suggestions on what maybe we could do in the studio, and then yeah, and then we just recorded. So we wrote 3 songs, and we recorded "My House, My Rules."
Hmm.
So we wrote 3 between us, and then so the other 2 are ones that we can use in the future. And the same with Els. Tim was like, I know he knew Els. He's known her for a long time through being around Bristol, the music scene in Bristol and stuff.
Yeah.
So he just said, I think it would be a really good match. Would you be up for it? So I was like, yeah, definitely. So again, I ended up getting her contact details. I sent her an email, and then we arranged a date for me to go down to her studio. I spent half a day with her. Most of the day was just chatting back and forth, and then we started to write the song then. And we went into the studio. Um, we did the song and we recorded the song, and then we sent the stems and stuff off to her because she was recording her album, which is out this week. She was recording her album at the same time, and then she did the vocals and sent it back. And I didn't hear what she'd done until the mixes came through, and it was the first time. Just one of those kind of moments, because I didn't realize how powerful it would be with a female's voice in there. And
Nice.
it just makes perfect sense as a song, to like it's like a conversation between 2 people, and yeah, it's really powerful. And I mean, she's incredible. Both Ricky and Els are incredible in their own rights and stuff. So yeah, it's a real sort of tap on the shoulder, or it's a real nice thing to have, that we've got these people on our record. It's a nice sort of yeah, tap on the shoulder, and sort of nod of acknowledgement from some really talented people within the industry. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's one. And how did you feel like, in terms of, was that the first time you'd written with people outside of the band? In
Yeah,
that,
it was. Yeah, yeah. So I've written obviously with Chris. Me and Chris have written a bunch of songs for Scarlet Rebels Records. I've written with Josh. Obviously, was in the band, but never people that were strangers before I sort of turned up. Yeah, so it was a really cool experience, and Ricky was an absolute gentleman. He's just the coolest person ever. He's just, so open to ideas and so laid back, just really, really cool. And Els was the same, like just went to her house and we to a studio and we were just chatting. And yeah, we just spent like 2.5 hours chatting and about stuff, and then we ended up kind of um reading lyric notes out. So I had notes on my phone and she had notes on her phone about just ideas of songs and stuff that we'd just like write a line and that could spur a song later on, if we were out and about. And we just ended up reading ideas back and forth, and then we just stopped on one idea that I think that I read out, and then it caused us to create this narrative about a couple that are going through a breakup type of thing, and we just wrote a song within about an hour, and we ended up recording it on my iPhone as a really rough demo, and Tim from Zurich heard the demo and he was like, "You have to record that song. It's gonna be incredible." So we did, and yes, I'm really happy we did because it's turned out like really, really well. So yeah, it's good. It's good. It was really interesting just how different people work and stuff, and I'm all about like learning and trying to grow, and it was a nice acknowledgement for me as well that these people were interested, or I say interested, were willing to work with me as well. So
That's
yeah, it's cool.
that's cool, man. And like you say, it's a great song that comes, well, both great songs that came from those sessions. This album, I've been fortunate enough to hear it, like I say, and it is slamming. Obviously, See Through Blue had its themes, which could have been divisive to some. I mean, I was fully on board with what you were saying. You were
Yeah,
speaking,
yeah.
but was it important to you guys this time around to release something that was a bit more encompassing, one for a better term, rather than being,
Yeah, I think so. I think like I had written songs which were, one was majorly political, divide and conquer, obviously.
yeah,
There's a song on there called How Much Is Enough, which is about just like, basically how much do people have to give before something gives back almost. But I think those songs didn't define the record because a lot of the subject matters that I'd written about were touching on like relationships, mental health.
Hmm.
It felt like there was a topic on the album which touched on all elements of life.
Yeah,
And politics does come into that. I get that. And that's, yeah, so I think that's why the message of the album was more about unity and yeah, trying to make like more of a unifying record rather than such a polarizing one. Because See Through Blue was polarizing on purpose. You know what I mean? We literally, it was written and recorded in a time when I felt things needed to be called out.
yeah, and
Um,
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. It was a time where things needed to be said, but equally,
yeah,
that was a time, and we're now in a
yeah, yeah. And I just, and that's the thing. I just like, I never saw myself as like a a political songwriter or political artist, political band even. It was just I was just writing material and songs when I was just writing my own perspective, I guess,
yeah, cool.
from the tiny little corner of South Wales that I come from. And See Through Blue was what I saw within that period. And then Where the Colours Meet is what I've seen in the period that I was writing that as well. So, you know, I just write about what I see and what I experience. And yeah, and like I said, Where the Colours Meet is basically, what's gone on from See Through Blue up to now. Like so yeah, I'm glad that we didn't hone in on those messages as much as we did on the See Through Blue thing, because I think like the album is so much more than just a political record. It's
Yeah,
a record about life in
right.
general. So yeah,
That's what did Carl handle bass duties on this record then,
he
or
did. Yeah, he did.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so obviously P had to step up the band due to personal reasons.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I mean, from our point of view, it didn't make any sense to say, like, let's get somebody in the band as a live performer and to cover that side of it and then do something different in the studio. We were like, look, if you're going to be joining the band for the next year, 18 months, let's just have you doing everything. So, it just made more buy-in, I guess, so yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He did a great job as well, yeah. So
Yeah, nice. Did that change the dynamic when recording at all, do you think, having a different person? I mean, it's obviously, P and Carl are different people, so they got different styles of playing, etc. So,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely, because they're totally different bass players in
mm,
the way that they play and the way they, the way they think about their playing and the way they think about their sound and stuff.
yeah.
So there's that. But then also, obviously, we were working with different people as well, so we had more chance to sort of be more um sort of to try things out more because we were in the studio for a month plus, so we had the time and the budget to be able to try things out and if it did or didn't work and stuff, which is something we've never had before. But yeah, he was brilliant. He came in and he nailed his parts. And yeah, no, he should be really proud of the part he played in it because it would have been a totally different album if he wasn't on it. So yeah, I'm glad that he was. It's been good.
I feel like it's been like a real kind of emotional, real investment from you guys. I mean, I saw, Gary's status that he put up a few weeks back of about his experiences in recording this album. It feels like it's been, I'm not saying hasn't been on other albums, but it feels like, I don't know, like you guys have really, really put everything into this record in terms of like,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we did because the see-through blue thing was caught us on the hop. We recorded it. We didn't expect to be signed off the back of it or signed for that album, and then it happened. And then we didn't expect it to do what it did, and then obviously it did end up in the top 10 and stuff. And that brings like a little bit, like I said, with that good pressure and stuff. So I think we kind of all were like, we really need to follow it up with. It's one of those, it's like people, you don't, like we've recorded stuff before and people have never really heard it properly. It's never been out into like an audience of, as many people as See Through Blue had. So we were like conscious of the fact that, that we had this kind of, these people who were interested in hearing what we were doing and would actually take notice of it as well. So we were like just a little bit like, it's a good pressure, but we were all like, we really need to give this album everything, and yeah, we just left it all up on the table, and that's from like the boys' performances to the lyrics that I've written as well.
yeah,
I've written stuff, lyrics and subject matters that maybe I wouldn't have like a few years ago. But I just kind of thought it makes the best art when you're raw.
yeah.
And so I put it all out on paper and then delivered it vocally as well. So um yeah, I think we have all kind of, given as much as we can to try and make the best record that we've been able to make. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that shows on the record, man. Like I say, it's solid as hell. You got your album launch show coming up as well. That looks like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so we're playing so I think it was the first Scarlet Rebels headline show we ever did was in the bunkhouse in Swansea.
Oh,
And yeah, so that was back in 2018, I think it was. And it was one of the first it was the first gig that the bunkhouse had ever put on as well. So when we were talking about where we can do it to launch it, we wanted to do something where we would help support the Music Venues Trust as well, or venues that were associated with the Music Venues Trust, independent music venues. And it just kind of was like, well, we played this show in 2018. Would it be nice to like complete the circle almost, go back, launch the album there, support them because they're an independent music venue. They give us a gig back in 2018 when nobody else would, type of thing. And it's also nice and small and quite intimate, so that we can make it a memorable experience for the people that would come as well. So they they were well on board with it. They've been really open with it, and we sorted it out. And then we put a second date on a Saturday night, so we're going to be doing the same on Saturday. And
nice,
then we're also going to be doing it in the Cavern in Exeter on the Sunday, the 18th as well. So we're doing three sort of launch shows.
nice.
Um, and then we're going to be doing some in-stores then across the country next week. So
Brilliant.
yeah, it's going to be good.
It'll be a busy period for you, mate. Like you say, you got those storage, you got the indoor shows out and the outdoor in-store shows, and you got Stone Dead Festival next Friday. A week,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
headlining tour to start.
Headline tour then in October to finish it off. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be busy, mate. It's going to be it's going to be busy.
Sounds good though, bud. Yeah, I'll be down at the Milton Keynes show on the headline tour, mate. So I look forward to catching
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool, man. That'd be cool.
you. Good to see you. So other than everything we just spoke about, I mean, have you got any plans for the remainder of the year that we've not talked about? Sounds like it's going to be pretty jam-packed anyway.
Actually, no, there's nothing even that we've not announced. So obviously we've got the album launch and then we've got our headline tour in October. And then once that's done, we don't have anything in the diary for the rest of this year. So now whether that means we will be quiet for the rest of the year, I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully there'll be some things pop up so that we can, keep ourselves ourselves out of trouble. But at the moment, there's nothing. So yeah, it's going to be busy until October, and then we will have a little bit of respite at least. So.
Well, it sounds like it's been quite an intense recording period for you, mate. Quite an intense live period coming. It sounds like you could do with a bit, at least a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, just a couple of weeks off, and then start writing the new album.
Glutton for punishment, mate.
Yeah.
But we're going to release this interview when the album this Friday when the album's released. If anyone's listening and thinking of buying the album, what would you say to them?
I would say that it's a good album, and I don't think anybody would regret buying it. But yeah, we just need people's support, in order to do what we need to do. And if we get enough support, then it will mean that that we'll be afforded the opportunity to do more music. So it's all sort of links together. But yeah, just anybody that has supported us, we really appreciate it. And anybody that is considering it, we would really appreciate support. And yeah, and I don't think anybody would regret buying the album. I think it's a good set of songs that people will enjoy.
Absolutely, man. Well, Wayne, great to catch up with you, bud. At the beginning of the interview, we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I'm going to play Declining, as the album will be out by then, and I can play Declining. But
Awesome.
what song off the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Do It Was Beautiful, then please, mate.
Yeah, we'll lock that in, buddy. And yeah, thanks for your time, man. Good to chat to you as always, mate.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. See you later, mate.
Catch you later, pal. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you about that.